Hey, this is Chase Sexton. You're listening to the MotoXpod show.
What's up, you guys? Jeremy McGrath here. You are listening to MotoXpod show.
Yep, we decided to do a show this week. After all, you know, when Ryan Villopoto says he wants to come on the show, Scotty, you do a show.
Pretty much, yep.
This is the Vital MX MotoXpod show presented by Racetech and Boyesen. In studio, you just heard him, Scotty Thompson, working the cameras. What's up, Scotty?
Yeah, just living over here vicariously through you guys, getting to actually be at this ride day thing, and now I get to talk about it and wasn't there, so... Yeah, maybe one day I'll be cool enough, but you know.
No, you never will be.
Okay, cool.
No, you never will be. Yeah, it was awesome. We'll talk about that. We're going to have Checkerz Riesenberg, Checkerz from Racetech, come on the show in a little bit. He was there. He wants to recap his weekend up there with us at the Pulp MX Ride Day, and he's going to talk about some arena cross news, as well as once again remind you guys of the engine and suspension seminars Racetech has. And then Ryan Villopoto makes his MotoXpod show debut. He's never been on the show. I asked him when I introduced myself back in 2018 at Redbud at the Motocross of Nations. He had no idea who I was, and he gave me his email, which instantly tells me he's not interested, because anybody that wants to do the show, they're going to give you their phone number. And then this weekend, you know, Scotty, we're sitting around the campfire after Saturday's ride day, and he's kind of asking about, like, hey, you know, what are you doing this week or whatever work-wise? And I'd say, I got a show, probably going to do a show coming up. And he goes, well, I want to come on the show. I said, okay, done deal, buddy.
Caught him on the right number of beers there.
Yeah, maybe so. He was great. We're going to talk about all that when we get into the Boyesen Open discussion. So don't forget that Boyesen loves to spotlight their Factory Racing's Rider Support Program, which is a comprehensive support system for motocross and off-road riders. The program offers participants exclusive access to Boyesen's products, their yearly discounts, and the potential to become one of their new product development test riders. So join the community of Boyesen Factory Flyers by visiting boyesen.com and applying today. Most of you guys, if you had two strokes throughout your life, you've run some Boyesen reads at the very least. Yeah, great company helping us out. Don't forget, MotoXpodShow@gmail.com is the email to contact us for question, comments, etc. on the shows, to get involved with the different segments. If you're on YouTube right now, when Ryan Villopoto is on, we are going to do some listener questions. I have some questions from the Vital Forum members, so we're going to get into some of those. So make sure Scotty knows you have a question if you do, and we will make sure we get to at least a few of those. So breaking news, not really breaking news, but they did the official announcement for Joe Shimoda going to factory HRC Honda is out. He's officially a Honda guy.
Yeah.
I talked to Jordan Troxel a couple of days ago doing a Motocross Nations mechanics podcast, and you know, we knew that announcement was coming. What do you think about that, man? Do you think that is a move up, down, sideways for him? I kind of feel like it's neutral.
I think it's a little bit neutral. I think kind of just depending on how he gels with the team and how he responds to what the bike is. I think it could be a vertical move, or it could be, it could go down. So yeah.
Vertical could be down.
That's true. It could go either way. I think it could be a good move or a bad move.
Sure.
It just depends on what you see on the first round.
So you're being flip-floppy. You're not giving me anything concrete.
Well, but I think that,
could be good,
could
be bad, could be the same.
Sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe not so good. Yeah.
I think it's a bike he's somewhat familiar with. He was a Honda guy for a while. It's a different bike. It's a team. There's some guys there that he's comfortable with, and he's friends with the Lawrence brothers. Mm-hmm. That should be good. Really, it just comes down to, in my opinion, with Joe, he has to get more aggressive. That's at the time when he doesn't get good starts, he has to be more aggressive. Yeah. That's really what he's lacking.
That's what I was going to say. Is I don't think Shimoda's. I hate saying problems or issues because it puts like a bad thing to it. But where he lacked wasn't the bike.
Right.
I don't think he was suffering from not being able to ride the bike to the ability that it was allowed him to, or whatever. That wasn't the case. Like you said, it was the aggressiveness. So I think that's more of a mental thing that needs to change. Going to Honda, maybe like you said, the comfortability of the team maybe helps with that. I don't know, but
yeah, I don't know.
I don't think moving to a bike's going to be too much, just so detrimental to him.
But sometimes we've seen many times with riders, just a change is good. Just having the change, new environment, new places to test, et cetera, that could do something for him. So, again, I don't think it's going to be a negative. I don't think we see a worse Joe Shimoda.
Right.
I think at the beginning of the season, we see the same Joe Shimoda, and by halfway through the 250 season, he's going to start getting some wins. That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he was supposed to be one of the guys this year, and he was at times, and, it's a little bit of hindsight's 2020 when the last 3 races that he does, he's one of the fastest guys.
Yeah, winning.
It's got to be like, kind of throw your hands up emoji, like what, like now you're going to do that? But
I think some of that was bike. There were some things they were uncomfortable with. They were struggling with
figured it
starts,
out.
and you started seeing Joe and Ryder D get really good starts. Hammaker was getting some good starts, but then crashing. So I feel like they figured something out with the bike. And maybe they didn't, but mentally they felt like it was better. All those guys got better towards the end of the season on the Kawasaki. I do feel like that could roll into whatever Joe's going to do this season. It's just he feels more confident about himself.
I agree with that. And I also think the question is, and I'll ask you this, I don't think it's the bike so much that's going to make the difference. I think the fact that he's now is either lone 250 riders or two.
Chance, Hymas,
I'm about to say him and Hymas.
Yeah, just those two.
So, going to a 2-person rider over going to having what is there, 4 or 5 guys on the pro circuit team? 4. So do you think
there's a bunch.
Do you think that makes more of a difference?
That there's less guys on the team?
Yeah, that he gets more attention.
More attention. I don't know how Joe is personally with that, so I don't know. I think some guys would like to have more focus on them, and I don't know if Joe's one of those kind of guys, so I can't say yet, right? It's just because I asked Levi Kitchen the same thing, because he basically went from pro circuit or from Star to pro circuit, which both those teams have quite a few guys on the team. So he says it doesn't really matter to him, and I don't know if it would to Joe or not. So only time will tell. I'm sure he's ripping at the test track. We'll be hearing that for the next couple months, but until Anaheim, or whether he's East Coast or West Coast, we don't know yet. Until then, we're not really going to know.
Right.
And the gate drops at the first Supercross.
Do you think he'll do West or East?
If I was guessing, I would say he'll be West. The only reason I say that is Chance is still less experienced, so maybe they want to get Joe in first and give Chance a little more time. But
I would say
knows?
that.
And Chance trains on the East Coast.
I think that if you're Honda, I am not
Honda.
Neither am I.
Okay.
Do you really want him to go into? Because I'm sure Deegan's going to do East again, right?
Don't know yet. I mean, Star has like 11 guys, so who knows? Yeah,
you would imagine that. That's going to be kind of interesting. I'm kind of thinking this as I'm saying it. Like, are people going to go away from the coast that Deegan's on, not because scared of speed, but because when he's out there, there's really no attention on you. Everybody's
I don't think so.
thinking, like, if I was Honda, I wouldn't want Joe to be overshadowed by the whole Deegan coverage thing.
Yeah, I don't know that teams really run from other riders. I know we hear that. We hypothesize about that every year, but
normally,
I don't think so.
but we've never seen what we've seen from Deegan.
We had like this year with Jet. Are you going to hide from Jet? And
I'm talking about from a media standpoint.
Yeah, I definitely don't think they care about that too much.
Yeah, they do. That's what sells bikes. If they're trying to sell many Hondas as you can, do you want to try to have your best guy in with somebody that's going to hog the camera?
You go out there and beat Hayden Deegan, then that's even better.
But how much does he go and do that?
I don't know. I guess time will tell.
Yeah, right.
We'll find out in a couple months.
I think those two guys are the guys that I can think of. I mean, I don't know who else you really put in that category, especially in Supercross.
That could win?
Yeah.
Faulkner,
yeah. But I mean, Shimoda and Deegan
Levi Kitchen.
I think Shimoda and Deegan are the two.
RJ.
But that's not Deegan and Kitchen. I mean, Deegan and Shimoda level.
Says you.
Oh, well, okay.
I guess we
Time
can call.
will
I guess
tell.
we can call RJ, and you can say that to his face.
I mean, I would love to. I've been waiting for RJ to do it for 6-7 years now.
I know.
I love RJ. I think he's great for the sport.
Oh, now we're backtracking.
And I love the way he
No, we're
when we
backtracking.
met him and stuff. But I mean,
I hear
proof's in
you.
the pudding, right?
Okay, so we're gonna touch on it. We're gonna do this a little early. I have an email that I want to touch on in a second. You were gonna ask. I think you wanted to know a little bit about this. This show in particular is gonna be pretty heavy on the Pulp Mix Ride
Yeah,
Day.
pretty heavy on a thing that I wasn't a part of.
Quit whining. God.
Yeah. I don't know where I would ever pick up the habit of whining around here.
I don't. That's why we make fun of you because you just.
Yeah, because I'm the only one that
I don't want.
complains.
No shedding tears tonight without TJ here to bust on you too.
Okay,
Be a man.
his wife's got my back.
Yeah. Well, Kathy can shut up. But anyway, and I do want to ask you this. You didn't know much about it. You didn't hear about it, but there was rumors of somewhat of a crossover MXGP race. MXGP was talking about David Luongo of In Front had mentioned that maybe they would come to the U.S. and have an MXGP in the U.S. that would be also a pro motocross race. That's something he's sort of talked with MX Sports and felt about, and that's something they're working towards. So that meaning, like, let's say Lakewood. Let's say they have MXGP at Lakewood, but also the pro motocross series would be run the same day, and each group would get points for those series.
That's just too.
That'd be awesome.
From
We would
a
finally-
fan perspective, that would be
Yeah.
the coolest thing ever. But neither one of those factory teams are going to want to give up points.
I don't know.
You think those guys that you think those Euro teams are going to send somebody over all the way to Colorado?
Yes, if there's an MXGP race
for
at
them-
Colorado, they have to go.
Is it going to be a GP race is their own thing, and then the US
No,
is their own
they're
thing?
going to race together.
Yeah,
and-
that's never going to work.
Yes, why would it not work? That'd
Because
be amazing.
those neither one of those people that invest in that sport are going to want to give up those points.
The people that invest in the sports is MX Sports and
I'm talking about the
and
factory teams.
It doesn't matter if the two, why am I blanking on what they're called? Not sponsors. What is it? Promoters
yeah.
have the event, and this is MXGP race. Come or don't come, but there's points being paid at this race. They're going to come.
Yeah. I mean, that'd be cool. I just
It'd
think
be-
there's way
it'd
too
be
many logistics
fantastic.
to it.
Well, they're working on those things, and Lewis Phillips wrote a nice little article on Vital. It went up, I think, today or yesterday on that. It's really great. But I just wanted to, I wanted to discuss how cool that would be to have Jeffrey Hurlings and Tim Geiser and Prado and Eli Tomac and Jet Lawrence. I almost said Reynolds. And go out there, and all those guys are racing each other for pro motocross and MXGP points. And just we would see once a year maybe who the best riders are. You know, it'd be nice if it was a full series almost, but because you're really never going to know unless they race everywhere all the time together. But one race, it'd just be really exciting. It'd be a huge, a lot of fans. You know, I think it would do great. I'm all for it. I would love for it to happen.
I personally think that I would rather see it happen as part of the playoff series. I think that it would make it better.
They're not going to do it with like a super crossy type. It'd have to be
but have one of them be like an actual, like, it's a playoff round and it's another national. It's like an actual national, and then the GP guys.
I don't care when they do it. Yeah, they could do it at any point in the season. I'll be fine. I just want it to happen.
Yeah.
But it's not going to happen in 2024. We know that. Still things they're working on. It's a cool talking point.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I agree with you. I would just be interested to see how getting all those organizations, because there's now you're talking about 6 different groups that all have to come.
What do you mean by 6 different groups? Explain.
You've got
don't huff at me.
I'm not huffing. You've got MX Sports.
Okay.
And then they're now partnered with Phil because
so
it's
that's
a whole
one entity basically. It's one.
Okay.
They're together.
It's 2 entities that make one. So okay, we'll call them 5. Okay. Because I said
we'll
6.
call it 5?
I said 6.
No. Okay. All right.
I said 6 different people. So, but we'll change it to 5 since you're counting those as one people.
Okay.
And then you have the NBC program that does all of the
that's just TV.
TV, and then you have CBS that does the other ones. Plus, you have what do they call the network that runs the
MXGP TV?
Yeah, that's a group. What's the group? Ustream.
No, that's in front.
In front.
But that's the MXGP. So it's in front and MX Sports. Those are the promoters.
And then you have FIM and AMA.
Yeah, but that doesn't have anything to do with putting
all
the
I
race
said
together.
was that there was.
I see what you're saying.
That there's 5 to 6 different organizations that have to be on the same page.
Well, I think it's going to happen.
I would love to.
Yeah, I think it's going to happen next year.
I'm just thinking of all
we'll have
the
to maybe
hurdles.
discuss this further with Lewis, where he has more knowledge about it. But you're just crapping on our parade.
No, I want it to happen.
Doesn't sound like it. Sound like it. Let's talk about Race Tech, because it is a big night for Race Tech with Checkerz coming on. And building a reliable world-class engine requires a combination of state-of-the-art equipment and experienced, knowledgeable technicians. Race Tech provides quality precision engine services using the best equipment and processes in the industry. So Race Tech is not only a suspension company. Race Tech does a lot of engine work, has a lot of cool engine parts. So check out racetech.com. If you're looking to do some engine rebuilds, they have a lot of good stuff. Checkerz will be on in a little bit to talk about that. We appreciate Race Tech as one of our supporting sponsors. Let me pull up this email real quick. Well, actually, let's get to Millville first and the ride day, the PulpMX ride day.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about that first, and we'll try to get to the email. We may do it at the end of the show. Do you have any questions, or like what? I could just go through the whole weekend, but that's kind of monotonous maybe.
Yeah.
So,
I would say, what was the coolest part of the weekend? Because you kind of gave me a brief rundown of what other thing was I know you're not really like you're more about there for like the riding environment. So was it more fun to sit and chat, and you went to dinner with Steve and all those guys on Friday, and then you hung out around the campfire with RV? Was that the highlight of your weekend, or was it more of getting the ride with all those guys and bettering yourself like you said that you did and all that? Was that more of what you took from it?
I did a podcast which you started. It's on the Racer X network. Racer X net. Am I saying that right? It sounds really weird.
It's usually under the Steve Mathis show on
I thought it was
Vital.
under the Racer X one. But either way.
It is the same thing.
Okay. So Mathis and I and Kiefer did a podcast today talking about it. And I did say at the end, like for me, honestly, the highlight, one of my absolute best friends, Michael Gage, went with me. And how much it meant to him was the highlight for me, honestly.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah, because
I'm sure he
got to go to dinner with us and sit across from the legend Damon Bradshaw and visit with Steve and Kiefer, and those guys treated him like they've known him. They really thought he was cool. MDG is a great guy. But then he got to ride Millville, basically open for 2 days.
Yeah,
and just so how happy he was about the experience was what my highlight was. Just being able to let one of my best friends get to enjoy that. As far as anything else beyond that, it was really just the amount of riding I got to do. I put over 4 hours total on the bike. Matt Servage, which is one of Kiefer's buddies, and Greg did spin a few laps on my bike. They probably put a half hour on it.
Yeah.
But other than that, I put over 3 hours of time on that bike and just rode, and I felt good. Thank you, Trail Training, Alex Martin. That was the best part, though. Just being able to go out all day long, anytime I wanted.
Yeah, that's so
and ride
cool.
Millville. Like they had organized practice, but the quote unquote, and I'm not saying this like big headed, but they were the VIPs, the people that were part of the show or whatever, basically could ride anytime they want. And I just rode anytime I wanted.
Yeah. So you just went out and got in the pros way and all that.
A couple times. Yeah. I was definitely in the way.
Get black flagged.
I was definitely in the way of some of the AB riders. And I chose, after a couple of those sessions, to not go out with the AB riders anymore.
Yeah.
Not because anybody really cared. They went by me, no problem. But I was scared.
Yeah.
It was gnarly.
It's like you think that you're riding good and you're having a good time, and then you look at guys like that just blow by you. Like, it's like,
dude, I mean, I was out there at times with Alex Martin and Phil Nicoletti, Chris, and
at least you're not you're not taking it like, oh, I rode with with J Mart and I rode with Phil and I rode with those guys. I was hanging with them.
Oh no. There was none of that. Alex did give Michael Gage a really nice compliment when we were leaving. He's like, man, you and I were battling out there. And Michael was like, no, sir. No, I wasn't, but thank you. You were just blowing by me. But A-Mart was paying attention and
Yeah, for those that don't know on this show, I've rode with Michael.
Yeah,
I've seen him ride my whole life. I've been on double gated with him before, and I've gone and rode with y'all together. And dude, that dude is like, if you want to see the epitome of like a smooth vet expert rider,
Good technique, yeah.
Just watch him, dude. He will
Not the fastest guy, but
he's not flashy. He's not going to like throw a knack or like a scrub or anything.
He might. I've seen him do some knack-knacks.
Okay, well, I bet he's just so at one with his bike.
Yeah,
he's in shape. He's smart about how he rides.
1 or 2 years old.
Yeah, he'll go and ride for hours. It's definitely a good if you want to just be, because you go watching guys like Jet and Tomac and all that. It's not realistic. You're never going to ride like that.
Yeah, right.
It's don't judge yourself on that. But if you ever have a chance to see a guy like Michael Ride, who's he's top 10 at Loretta's in the vet classes and stuff, and he's done his thing. That dude is, I've always enjoyed going to ride with him because he's as smooth as on the bike. He's as smart off the track and telling you about things. So I'm sure he had a great weekend.
Yeah, he did. So that was my highlight. Like I said, the riding. There was a live pulp show. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, apparently you were...
I was fine.
Yeah.
I was fine.
Okay.
I was a little tired that night.
Tired, yeah. Tired.
I was tired.
Yeah.
Somebody had made signs for the show. Somebody had made signs for the show. There was 3 like white poster boards, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
One of them said, "I just want to hear the motocross stuff." One of them said "dark," and one of them said "pony pod," and that was all the signs. We didn't know where they came from, who made them. Steve did say on his pod that I think it was somebody that was part of the track. Their daughter made them or something, but I don't know why I had 2 signs. That was kind of cool.
I mean, like you're infamous when it comes to pulp, dude.
I guess so. There was it was kind of fun having people come up when Steve was next to me. We were all talking, and they'd be like, "Hey, Steve, I really love what you do, and thanks for having us out." And they'd look at me and go, "I love your show and what you do." And Steve was like, "Oh, damn."
Yeah.
Yeah, like I sometimes think that Steve doesn't realize that, like, our show is doing decent, right? It's definitely not at his level, but...
I mean, we're a part of the network, the only network that really competes with him, so...
Yeah. So it was fun. We got to meet a lot of really cool people and listeners and just hang out. It was... Honestly, it's probably the most fun event I've ever been to as a whole.
Yeah.
Getting to bond with RV a little bit, hanging out with Checkerz, and then he'll be on here in a minute, like I said, and his fiance Jenny, her family, her mom Leslie, and her stepdad Mark cooked for us like every morning, cooked dinner, and just were like, "Hey, your family," basically. And that's how the whole event was.
Yeah.
It was pretty cool. So I think there is going to be another one at Millville next year. And then we were kind of talking on the pod today that maybe year 3 we try to do Redbud. That'd be cool, right? So
yeah.
I hope this turns into something that they do every year.
Yeah, that would be cool. What was your, I guess it's kind of a generic question, but like, what was your biggest surprise of like, maybe it's something that somebody you saw that you weren't expecting to see, something happened that you didn't expect, or something that you experienced, or maybe, like thought of while you were there that kind of surprised you?
Nothing really stands out that surprised me. I mean, yeah, you should ask me that ahead of time so I could think about it. Oh
yeah, you never do that for me. So.
No, I never throw you under the bus like that. I can't think of anything that really surprised me. It was Moser, who I've met once before. I think he came out. He was really cool. I mean, that's not a surprising thing, but it was a
standout. Oh, you can do it as standout.
I say it stood out, I guess, because I really had never got to hang out with Moser that much, and none of us really know who Moser is, right? We just hear about Moser, but who's Moser? Nobody knows.
Yeah, I don't know. I know the inside joke of him because I listen. I'm a Pulp listener, but I really don't like. Who is that guy? What does he do? Is he part of the industry? Like, I have no idea.
No, he. I believe his family owns a concrete business, if I'm not mistaken.
Is he just one of Steve's buddies or something?
Yeah, and I'm forgetting the exact history. Obviously, he's like a super fan of Andrew Short, and he got involved with the show early. And he's become one of Steve's buddies. Yeah, he's up for like Washington area, and him and his buddy Buell drove all the way out and hung out. And they may have been one of the longest drives. I think it was 22 or 23 hours for them.
I'm out.
There's some people from San Diego or Sacramento that came up. It's 20 plus hours. Noah, who went and picked up Kiefer and Mathis's bikes and brought them out for him. There people drove from a long way. Guys came down from Canada for this thing. The FXR guys were there. Fly Racing was there. Nomura was there. Jeez, trying to remember. EVS came out. It was a big deal. It was like a big event.
Yeah. It sounds like it would have been cool to be at. Yeah, that would have been great.
Did you send an email in and try to get?
Well, no.
I mean, I got a +1, dude. I don't know what to tell you.
He really only gave you +1.
He didn't really say, but yeah, he was giving me crap in the beginning. Man, are you gonna bring one of your janky friends?
Am I a janky friend?
Yes, you're a janky friend.
I'm part of Pony Pod.
Well, I don't. Have you got to the part where he asked about TJ being my best friend on Steve's show? Yeah, because I said, I got to bring my best friend. And he's like, oh, I thought TJ was your best friend. I said, no, I don't even like TJ.
You're such a dick.
I figured TJ would love that, though. So, yeah, that was the biggest part of the event. Like I said, we're going to be talking about it here with Checkerz and Harvey in a minute. Before we get Checkerz on, let me pull this email up, and let's see if we can get into this real fast. I didn't have it ready. Okay. Yeah, so Barry McCockiner, don't know if that's his real name.
You not get it?
Oh, God. Yeah, I got it. Jesus. Way to go, Barry. Yeah, I get it now. Back in the glory days of motocross and supercross, it was 125, 250, 500 outdoor series, which created more jobs for riders and crews and was great racing for us fans. For supercross, you had a mix of riders from the 125 and 500 riding supercross with the 250 riders. Do you think this could be possible for the manufacturers to get together and bring this format back? Make it a 350 for Supercross, 250, 350, 450 for motocross. Yeah, I don't see that happening. I don't see all the manufacturers going to a 350. I did hear a rumor that there might be another one considering it, so maybe down the road. But making the series like the outdoor series 3 separate classes, I don't think it's going to change that much. You're adding more TV time. Maybe like if they did the 250 class was not on TV and the 350 and 450 class was the premiere, but I don't see it changing that much. I wish they would
do a 2-stroke.
Well, yeah, like a feeder class, like GPs do.
Yeah, like what you mean, like the EMX kind of thing?
Yeah, that's like the feeder class to the 250s.
Is that a 2-stroke class?
Yeah, I think
like 125s.
Yeah.
See, I would want 250s to be able to do it.
250 2-stroke. Well, okay, yeah, whatever. I mean.
It's just a 2-stroke, like a 2-stroke open class.
I'm fine with that, but I don't see it happening. Just mainly time restraints on the schedule are already pretty tight. Yeah. So to add another, I mean, they're already adding the features and they're adding.
Just make it a part of the. Don't show a part of the broadcast. Just show it part of the like maybe have it in the morning. Like have both motos before, not like.
You'd have to squeeze it like in between. I guess after practice.
Do it on the race day live. Yeah.
Yeah. Dude, I'm perfectly fine with that. I would love more racing, the better. Track's going to get rougher.
Yeah.
That's more time.
I would be here for it if it was a 2-stroke thing. I don't really want to do like a 350 class. Like it's like what would be the point?
I'd rather have 250, 350 class. No more 450s. Do away with 450s.
That's never going to happen.
No, it's not. But I would rather see that. I think the 450, especially in Supercross, I think 450 is too much, man. You don't.
Oh, I agree.
Okay.
I've been watching. What year have I been on? I've been watching '98 Supercross. Like when I.
Okay. Yeah.
When I go to bed and.
When you tuck yourself in.
Yeah, I tuck myself in, put my little taco, and then I put on motocross and drink some cocoa and yeah. Anyways, so what I've heard people talk about this before. It's been a common point. Is that the racing it's too predictable now. Those guys are jumping stuff by the third lap.
Yeah.
When you watch those old Supercross races, dude, like it was nothing for one of the top 3 guys to get loose in a wonky rhythm section or a whoop section, and there was more. The bikes allowed for more mistakes, which made for better racing.
I agree.
So I think that
I would love to have that back.
Yeah, exactly. So in the 450 kind of eliminates that.
Yeah, I agree. Our first guest of the night's on the line. Andy Gregg and the Guts Racing crew have been providing the best seats and foam in the industry for years. For 2023, they have added Kawasaki to their complete seat lineup, as well as the color teal to the gripper material options available. Also new for 2023 are options for your e-bikes. Those things are getting super popular, and they have complete seats for the Talaria and Super 73 and covers for the Segway and Sur-Ron. And they have options for the Honda, KTM, and Husqvarna electric bikes. Visit GutsRacing.com to check out the full line of Guts Racing seats. Tonight, Guts Racing brings us from Race Tech, the marketing director, Checkerz Riesenberg. We know him as Checkerz. What's up, Checkerz?
Nice to see or hear from you again, Jamie. It hasn't been too long, I guess.
It's been a long time, man. I miss you, dude.
It was a good weekend. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, we were just sort of talking about it a little bit. I kind of want to ask you, like, what stood out? what were the highlights for you? You were very accommodating for myself and Michael, letting us stay in your RV and giving us a place to crash, and Jenny's family feeding us. So I appreciate all that. I want to publicly thank you. But yeah, for you, what stood out besides your crash? We'll get to that.
It was just super laid back and fun. And, I don't get to spend a lot of time with a lot of the guys that were there. I guess the VIP guests, I would say, away from like a professional race event where everyone's working and very busy. So it was really nice just to be relaxed and hanging out. And, I think one of the things that in this industry is guys, you work in the industry because you like dirt bikes a lot.
Yep.
And people quit riding, or they don't ride all that often. So it was really fun to have everyone, riding a bunch and, spinning some laps and just, kind of hanging out on the tailgate. And everyone was super accessible and just kind of walk up and talk a little crap and whatnot. It was a really relaxed, fun weekend camping at the track with our buddies.
Yeah, I think speaking of the relaxed environment and people being able to come up, like the non quote unquote VIPs, the people that got passes or just showed up to hang out, I think a lot of them were surprised at how friendly Steve was really in person. When you go up and try to, like, he talked to everybody and had conversations, and he kind of has that reputation of, I don't want to hang out with random people, but he was very, very fun to visit with, and I think surprised some people.
Yeah, I know. Before I left on Saturday, I talked to him for a bit, and he's like, "Man, I didn't ride that much." Or Sunday, sorry. He said, "I didn't really ride that much today. I was talking to people." And I think a lot of it is, when fans and, listeners and people that know him through through his shows or whatever, to hear from him or see him, they also are seeing him on race weekends when, he's busy and he's got stories he needs to get. And, he has a schedule and a routine of, I got to get coffee quickly so I can get into the stadium and not miss practice. And you get stopped often. And I think just by being in that more relaxed setting really made it a lot easier. But I was curious on how that would work out, because obviously I've spent enough time with Kiefer and whatnot. Like, I know he's really good in that environment, and you are as well. But yeah, definitely seemed like Steve was completely okay with it even. And not hiding or anything, 'cause I was wondering about midday Sunday if he was to be hiding in a shed somewhere.
Yeah, me too. Right. Yeah. He definitely, he did the right thing, and he enjoyed it. I think like I told everybody earlier, we recorded a podcast today with him and Kiefer, and it's up on the Racer X network. And yeah, he really, I think he had a good time.
Yeah, for sure. Once the track dried out and stuff, and you guys get on and everything, because unlike yourself, I think pretty much everyone else that was, I guess, like that he brought in kind of as a guest did not have their gear on for quite a while you were out spinning laps in the mud. And I thought you were absolutely crazy because it was really muddy when you started. It was really slippery looking. And I mean, I made the joke that my bike runs on solar power, and if I'm not out, it doesn't start.
Right.
And it wasn't starting until afternoon on Saturday for sure. And I mean, you'd already put in a couple sessions. It was not pretty as far as you weren't motoring down and didn't look very much fun, but you were getting around the track really well. And I think you had one fall that happened to be right in front of everyone. But other than that, you were keeping it up and at least getting around, not getting stuck halfway up the hill at least.
No, it was good. I wanted to put as much time in as I could, and I was going to take full advantage. And they were kind of, Kiefer and those guys, as they do, were egging it on. First thing, go on, Darkside, get out there. You got to get out there. Come on, man, get your gear on. I was like, all right, I'm not scared. I'll go get my gear on. So I did. Yeah, let's go.
Yeah, that's when we needed Kiefer to get on the quad and get out there and dry the track out for us.
Yeah.
Did he ever actually ride it?
He did ride it around the pits.
He never got on the track?
Wide open, grabbing gears. It was great.
Yeah. No, he never rode it on the track. I found out today that after we left Checkerz, that the guy that owned the quad did go out on the track.
I did hear about this. I met my buddy Scott that was down for dinner on Sunday night, and he was still there because he rode the last practice that they had, and then he was parked over by the sand whoops, and he said he watched a guy come around and do a couple laps through the sand whoops, and it was rather difficult for him to get around, it seemed like, or sounded like.
That's what I heard. But yeah, Kiefer, Scotty, and the listeners never took a full lap. He definitely wasn't exactly feeling it. He's like, man, I got testing to do. And he had heard, quote unquote, that John Martin didn't want a quad on the track. So he was using that to his advantage. But then at the end of the day, he said today that John said to that guy that he could go ahead and go. So I don't know if that was just an excuse from Kiefer or not, but I know Heather wasn't stoked because I sent a picture of him riding around in the pits to Heather, and she was like, damn it, he's on a quad and he has no helmet on.
Yeah. Not a role model, right?
Yeah, she was not happy about it. So, yeah, he never did it. I don't know if he's changed his mind about actually doing a full lap on one, but he didn't want to do it there.
Yeah.
Well, I think a lot of it, though, too, was track conditions. I mean, it was very, very ruddy. And, I mean, that track's pretty gnarly anyways, just with the elevation and whatnot, and then add in the ruts. I think on a, more SoCal-type track, he shared in the Pulp Show that they did at night that he spent some time doing R&D stuff for endurance testing, I believe it was, on some ATV stuff. So it's not like you can't ride one at all.
Sure.
But I think it's more, I wouldn't want to ride anything four-wheeled around that track just to even try to get around it because it was so ruddy and gnarly.
It was, Scott, I know you got a question coming up, but it was very ruddy. That's not the ruddiest track I've ever rode on, but with the little bit muddy conditions and the off cameras.
Yeah, I can picture it pretty well. Yeah.
Yeah, it was different, but I don't know. Checkerz, I felt like I got better by the end of the weekend, and I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I've ridden Nova a lot and even ridden it wet a lot, and it was much different than I've ever seen it. It was really sticky on Sunday. At the end of Saturday, the one line was pretty good around most of the track. It just was, one line, and if you're in traffic, it was kind of challenging, but it really threw me off. I thought Sunday was going to be absolutely amazing, and I think Sunday might have been a little bit more challenging just because the ruts would grab you so much because they were so sticky. And there was more of them. But yeah, definitely was a very, very demanding and challenging Nova track to ride. And Weston Pike, I talked to him a little bit on Sunday as well, and he shared a little bit in the Pulp Show. He's like, yeah, I don't really like this. It's too many ruts and too gnarly. And obviously he's a very high level rider, and he wasn't enjoying it for that.
Yeah. It's funny you say that because Chris and Steve both said they thought it was better Saturday, and I have the opposite. I thought it was better Sunday because there was more lines in the whoops and I had more options. I felt like it had more options Sunday, and I was riding better. So I actually enjoyed the track conditions much better Sunday, but I seem to be in the minority.
It also very well was you put in a lot of laps and a lot of time throughout the weekend. So, just in general on the track in general, you put in a ton of laps, so you probably get more comfortable, I would say, just because of that as well.
I think Kiefer said he checked his GPS and did like over 100 laps. I bet I did 80 to 90.
Yeah, I wish we could verify if your hour meter got bumped kind of weird for some reason or if it was real, because did you say it was like 3 hours on Saturday?
Yeah. There were, I think, total time from we got there to the end was over 4 hours, but that does seem like a lot to me. I know Vaj and Greg took some laps, but I think they were less than an hour on it. So I think I put probably a total of 3 hours in that neighborhood, somewhere in that neighborhood total.
Yeah, you were on the track a lot, though, for sure. I could see it from the pits if I wasn't on the track, and you were always out there. You'd pull off for a short amount of time, but you didn't even really come back to the truck other than to get fuel.
Yeah, I filled up like 3 or 4 times, and I changed goggles when it got kind of dark, and I put some clear on. But I don't remember how long the sessions were, like each class, but I think I went out, 8 or 10 classes. I don't know. It was a lot.
It's a whole.
They were doing 20-minute sessions.
There you go. Yeah.
It adds up fast when you're not pulling off the track, which that brings up one of the things that was really, really cool about the weekend, and part of the relaxed vibe was, you've been to Millville before, I believe, and you never can go across that cement bridge with a bike and all the way up into the infield and hang out.
Right.
We were able to ride right up by where Steve and Kiefer and those guys were parked and sit and watch and talk and hang out, and everybody was. So it made it there was just a small enough amount of people there that it made it really relaxed and fun on that side of things too. And the rotations went super fast without the mini bike classes and that side of things. It was just big bikes.
Agreed. Scotty?
Yeah, I was gonna ask you, Checker. So it's one thing to have to know a guy, see him at the races, and all this, but staying in someone's RV is a whole different kind of. You get to know somebody a little bit more when you stay with them. So, was there any weird sides of Dark that came out in 2 nights in the RV?
No, not at all. I've talked to Jamie enough and stuff, and I'm pretty easygoing when it comes to that stuff. Other than I felt bad the first night. Those guys were exhausted from driving through the night, and then they got back from their big dinner and stuff. And I was just excited to see him and whatnot. And he was exhausted. I was like, oh man, I'm keeping him awake. And he was really falling asleep in the chair, but it was really neat. And then I met his buddy Michael that he brought with him for the first time ever, and He's probably one of the nicest human beings I've ever met. Super, super friendly dude. And they were very obviously thankful for the hospitality. And, you know, Jenny's family was there, my fiance Jenny, and her mom and stepdad. And, you know, they really enjoy hosting people. And, you know, so for them to have people come over and eat dinner with them and stuff, like, they were all about it. Like, that's stuff that they enjoy. So that makes their day to be able to do that.
Yeah, it was fantastic. And let's talk about you didn't ride a lot. You were your knee popped out a couple times. Ooh. And you were not in the best of places. And then you had a pretty big crash too.
Yeah, so I actually haven't been riding much this summer because I have a knee that I hurt. Like, last year I raced arena cross, but right before my last arena cross, I did it. I never went and got an MRI or anything, but I'm pretty certain self-diagnosed it was an ACL. And I was able to kind of build strength back up to it and ride the last arena cross I did, which I broke my collarbone at. So then it gave it time to heal, and it never was a problem again until 3 years ago when I started riding again at a sand track. I dabbed it in a corner and it popped again. Ugh. And again, it was one of those, it was like 2 weeks of being kind of hobbling around and sore. And as it got built some strength back up and swelling went down, it was fine. And I would re-aggravate it like here and there, but not very often until about middle of summer. I believe it was right after I got back from Loretta's. I was driving our pontoon on the lake, and I went to turn around because my kids were tubing and look at them, and it dislocated. And it was by far the worst pain I've ever felt in my life. It took about 45 minutes. I got it to pop back in. And I was like, well, that was weird. But now it's to the point where it happens quite a bit. And I literally went up to sign up on Saturday because the track was finally getting good. And I was all pumped, like, I'm going to go ride. And I haven't been riding because I knew that I basically needed to save it because I wanted to ride this weekend so bad. Because I was like, I love Millville, and it was a cool opportunity. And as I got on my pit bike to ride back to get my gear on, it popped out again. I'm like, well,
damn pit bike.
We'll see. It's easier on a big bike than a pit bike, as far as because your knee's not bent so badly. And I just took it easy in the corners, which is challenging with the ruts too. But we got it done. I got a little bit of riding in on Saturday, not a ton, and I wasn't super comfortable because it was challenging conditions, and I've been off the bike, but it's always fun to ride still. And then, yes, first lap on Sunday, I came up to the catapult, and a guy in front of me on the very first lap, he did an air wheelie, not me, and came up short on the double of it. And when he landed, it must have like killed the bike a little, and it was really muddy and ruddy between the double and the triple.
Yes. And
you basically have to double up the thing. Like it's a 20-foot double. It's nothing to do it, but I don't even know if you can climb it without doubling it, to be honest. But when he landed, he went straight left 90 degrees across the track. And I was already getting committed to like doubling up it. So I turned left a good bit off the face. And right when I landed, and he didn't straighten back out to go on the track. I think he was maybe going to try to ride down the side of the jump, or I don't know if he was just off balance, but he rode straight into the side of me. So then we tangled, and then it's obviously muddy and ruddy, and I'm cross-rutting as I'm getting away from getting tangled, and I almost have it saved. And where they kind of pushed some mud off to the far left of the track, my front end hit a super big sinkhole and tucked the front and like stoppied me. And the next thing you know, I'm getting also hit from behind as I'm up on the bars, and I go flipping, cartwheeling over the third jump down the hill. And as I'm literally upside down in the air, I'm looking back, and I see the flagger looking the other way, and I'm like, God, get your flag out, because I literally know I'm landing. It's all slow motion in my head. I'm landing on the third jump. I'm like, oh God, don't triple on me, no one triple on me. And I finish flipping, get up the flagger. Thankfully, got the flag out, and I walk up to my bike, and I'm like, assess the damage. I felt pretty okay. Like, I'm not overly hurt, but adrenaline's pretty high at that point. And pick my bike up, and at that point, I'm facing backwards on top of the third jump of the catapult, and everybody's parked down below. And I'm like, well, this is sweet. I'm up on a podium basically that I just ate crap at the pulp day. Yeah. Thanks to the dark side black cloud or something.
Yeah, he blames me for this.
So
yeah, you started the trend.
I literally finished the lap, and I didn't want to just pull off because I knew Jenny was in the other side of the track watching, and if I didn't come around, she'd be worried. So I saw her in the infield and pointed. I'm like, I'm going back to the pits. Now that was my day of riding. At that point, I figured it was time to throw in the towel, and we're good. So now I need to call a doctor and get my knee fixed, and we'll hopefully be ready by spring. But my shoulder's still real sore. It obviously keeps getting worse and not better. So I think it's okay. Like, I have movement. I can lift it above my head and stuff. So no harm, no foul, other than I felt like a complete idiot crashing on the first lap. at the Pulp Day, but
Yep, I felt the
really,
same way.
I don't know how much, honestly, don't know how much blame I could take, but I guess it happened. So there's got to be some fault.
Yeah, there was some sketchiness out there with the weather conditions. I mean, there was, especially Saturday, there was multiple times I would land in a spot and a bike would shoot one direction or the other, and you're just like tucking your elbows in, hoping that you weren't going to get hit.
Especially with that many people.
Yeah.
Well, I think it was a lot of guys too. I think that came out just for this event. Like it seemed like a pretty big vet contingent of guys that maybe don't ride a ton or ride moto a ton, and they're just big, big Pulp fans. And it's awesome to see it just with the conditions being tough, and then also like you were funneled into smaller areas because there were spots on the track that just weren't good to ride.
Sure,
because of the rain.
Absolutely. Checkerz brought to you tonight by Guts Racing and Race Tech. Yeah, you have some arena cross news. Let's get into that.
For sure. So I have some arena cross roots myself, and I've always loved arena cross, and it kind of broke my heart the last handful of years. It really hasn't been what it used to be as far as just the talent level and the tracks and the racing. Just it really hasn't been that awesome. And last year, the new owners, Robbie McQuarrie and his group, have took arena cross over, and I found it really exciting. I spent a lot of Friday nights watching it. They made much more technical tracks, and there's more of a pro show again. And their format's really, really cool. Like they take 2 out of their heats and then 1 out of their semis and 1 out of their LCQ.
Okay.
Which means basically an LCQ all night long. The only problem with it last year was like the heat races, there's maybe a couple guys that were really good. So a lot of times those were pretty boring because they get spread out.
Oh yeah.
But the winner take all stuff was super exciting. I'm sure a lot of people have seen the highlight reels of Flying Taco absolutely obliterating himself and other people. But I've always said that format will work really well if they get some more depth. And, I've been hearing a lot of rumors about guys that are going there, and it's starting to look a little more solid of, I think Brandon Ray is going to race all of them, and Devin Harriman's in, and, Lester's coming back. Isaiah Clark has a team deal this year alongside Kyle Bitterman, who got second in the series last year. And obviously Kyle Peters is back. And I also know Isaiah made the move to Club MX and is actually riding with Peters right now. And he's kind of the young kid coming up. And, I think he beat Kyle once last year. And KP's obviously getting a little bit older. And then I know like Solitaire has interest in sending 30 to some races, and maybe some of their other guys as well.
I heard that, yeah.
I mean, I even heard like Helena Humphrey might jump in at some, and, some young kids like, and then I also heard like Jason Owen, I believe, is back as well. And, before Peters went on his run, Owen had a season where he won pretty much every moto too.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I really like it. Just because of that format. And then they do this head versus head thing where it's 3 riders, and you can actually vote for your guys, and it adds to the purse of that. And so it's like a 3-rider dash for cash type deal. And it's always a lot of takeouts and drama, and a good way for the riders to make a little extra money. So I'm super excited. And it's Friday nights. So for me in the winter in Minnesota, it's cold and miserable and not a lot going on a lot of times.
Right.
So I watch it Friday nights and Supercross on Saturdays. It's awesome. It makes the winter go by a lot faster.
That's smart.
For sure.
Yeah, that's really smart. They do it on Friday nights. What's the schedule look like? Like how you had a question, Scotty. I'm sorry I interrupted you. I forgot. But yeah, is it going to be like a lot of dates across the country, or is it kind of focused in a particular part of the country?
No, so it's all across the country, and it does start in December as well. So we won't have to wait until January when Supercross kicks off. I believe it starts in Idaho, and then it goes to the opener moved from Madison, Wisconsin to now it's the 3rd round of the series, but it's 3 weekends in December to start it off, and it goes all across the country. But what should be really exciting is I always love Daytona and Bike Week, and they're on Daytona, like on the beach at the I think it's the Ocean Center Arena or whatever, on the Friday night before the Daytona Supercross, as well as at the end of Bike Week. So,
awesome.
For me to travel in, I can travel in, watch an arena cross, watch the Supercross, and then do the amateur side of things. It makes for me work-wise to go to that event a really fun weekend of seeing a lot of people, and also, being really productive on a business side too. So I'm excited about that. And then they close in Vegas, which I haven't gone to Vegas since the last race they had there, because that's really the only reason I go. And I'm looking forward to that. I think I might actually go to it. So just for an excuse to go to Vegas, but also to close out the arena cross. That'll be fun.
Yeah, I love that they're at least finishing in Vegas.
I know, right? That's a whole rabbit hole.
Yeah, but what you got, Scotty?
Yeah. So you had mentioned that the last couple of years of arena cross kind of hasn't been what we had in the past, and what we all think that it should be. Do you think that with with the rise of having more ride days after the Supercross races and then the futures program and stuff, do you feel like that's the main causation of that, or is it just kind of a small factor?
Is causation a word?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I think a lot of it is, when Feld went away, there was a lot of uncertainty, and also along with that, a lot of the OEM support went away because they didn't know necessarily how big the series was going to be. And so that the way that without the riders in the promotion of Feld to fill the stands, they had to go to running amateurs with the pros, and that meant the tracks got way easier.
Yep.
So all of that kind of combined, plus just the lack of money. So the first thing that the new group did when they announced their series was they said the purse is going to be much bigger. And it's like double what the previous purses had been the last few years, and more closely back to what it was during Feld's kind of reign. And the last piece of the puzzle missing really is to get guys that can come in and be able to battle with Kyle Peters, who has support from Phoenix Honda, is really OEM support. If you get that, then you're able to get some bonuses and some good bikes and programs and staff and a little bit more funding to go in. And then you can bring in, ideally the Cowie team comes back.
Yeah.
That was always a staple of the series and stuff. And, and in the heyday, there's, during the Debo and Budman days and Demuth and all those guys, I mean, there was 6 semis in the pits at Arena Cross.
Mm-hmm.
It was unreal, which you really don't need that because you don't have a pit party presence or any of that. All the pits are inside. So the Sprinter van thing can work really well, but it's just, that's the level of support that it once had. And, they can sell arenas out, but I think they're going to a smart approach. They're going to kind of I guess you would say B markets. They're not going to the biggest cities. They're going to the smaller cities where there's not really a lot of other stuff going on. So people are looking for something to do. So they'll go out to the dirt bike race ideally.
Yeah, I like that. And there's a lot of those guys that, like a Jace Owens and a KP, that, they're not going to go out and probably get a podium in Supercross, but they're fantastic, amazing racers. And yeah, it sounds like that series is going to be pretty stacked this year. That's going to be fun to watch.
I mean, I hope so. And the broadcasts are always pretty entertaining. It's live on MAV TV. I believe all of them are live on MAV TV.
Right,
and then,
right.
Their last year was on the Ride TV where the Canadian races are, but this year they just have an Arena Cross All Access Pass, which I think is $30 or something along those lines for the season. And they have Ping and Budman as their commentators, and it's a real loose, laid-back broadcast.
That's right. I forgot Budman. Yeah, I forgot Budman did it last year. Yeah.
I mean, they're super hilarious to listen to because it's more like they're just sitting on the couch watching the race.
Yeah.
So, I enjoy it.
Yeah, I guess is that different? That's different than the one that comes on FS1, right?
I think that's
the one with Daniel and Justin Brayton and Kristen Beat is the General Tire Arena Motocross Series is what it's called this year. They rebranded. That is Arena Motocross now, and that's more of an amateur driven program.
Okay.
Past where the tracks are much easier, and that is the series that Michael Hicks absolutely dominates in, and he is so good on those tracks. He is incredible. I mean, I really don't think there's too many guys that could line up and beat him there. It's nuts how good he is on those.
Yeah, I like the idea that that they have this one that's more, the tracks are harder. It's not more about the amateurs, more about.
Yeah.
And I think, I would love to see like the guys that are in that group right now, or your, I guess the guy that would have been there this year, like your Daxon Bendix, and you got your Juju Beaumare that's coming up. I would love to see those guys kind of have to go through a guy like Kyle Peters. It's like, all right, you got, come race this series, beat,
You're talking about the road to Ricky Carmichael road to Supercross.
You don't have to call it that, but I mean,
that's why we have futures now, man.
I know, but I would love to see it be another way that those guys could do it, just not just 3 futures races a year,
Well, I think it's a really good way for guys to get some developmental experience for sure. It is, Arena Cross is much different than Supercross. It does share some stuff, but more importantly for a guy, coming up through, would be more the Brayton path of you're not a known guy and you can go there and make a name for yourself. And I mean, I think you very well could see Isaiah Clark become that kid or that guy who happens to be from the same town as Brayton actually, but go there. And if he goes to ride Supercross, he maybe is going to be a borderline main event guy. Probably, he's pretty dang talented. He's pretty good, but if he can go head to head with Kyle Peters, who's proven and is a household name, and beat him, that's the joy of Arena Cross, because that's when, Brayton came in and was battling with Bradshaw and Demuth and, Budman and all those guys. Well, that gives him some credibility. And, when people start to see and hear his name, it actually means something. Whereas, running around at the back of a Supercross main event doesn't necessarily do that for you to give you an opportunity to make a career of it.
Yeah.
And if the pay's good, it's a way to make a living. If you can make a living riding a dirt bike, you don't have to be too proud to do it in an arena versus a stadium.
No, absolutely not. That's a great point. Checkerz, let's wrap this thing up with some race tech news. You came on a couple weeks ago, maybe a month or so ago, to talk about the engine and suspension seminars that Race Tech has coming up. Let's update those guys that haven't heard, or maybe they forgot about it.
Yeah, so coming up November 11th, there's a few seats left in the suspension seminars, and a handful left in the engine ones as well. And a lot of times people think it's a way to go start up a race shop, and a performance shop, and get into the business that way, or add to a dealership that already exists, or if you're doing suspension to perfect your craft. But one of the things I'm actually seeing more of is just parents that want to come and learn how to do it, and not even necessarily to get hands-on and get inside of little Johnny's suspension, but it's actually so they can go to the track, know how it works, and help tune their rider's suspension, and be a better tuner on that side of things. And I believe that we might have a special guest coming. We're working on that right now. Jamie, I don't know if you have any more info you can share on that.
Yeah, it sounds like I'm going to be going to the suspension one. Haven't had that confirmed from Michael Lindsay just yet, but that doesn't mean much. He'll tell me when it's time. But yeah, I think I'm going to be out there for the suspension one from like the 11th to the 15th, I think.
Yes. Yeah. So, and part of the thinking with that too is, Jamie's obviously riding a lot more, and, he's starting to test products and ride a lot of different bikes and stuff. So for him to have the understanding of how stuff works, and then setting up his own bike, we thought would be super valuable, as well as, of course, for us, we get some media coverage out of the deal, and he can share his experience with all the listeners and, future people that would want to go through it as well. So it's kind of a win-win situation. I think it'll be really neat to have happen. So if you guys want to see him spend some time in school with Jamie, then sign up for that reason, and that reason alone.
Yeah, that's going to be entertaining, because I do need to have more of an understanding, because there's definitely times when I'm like, well, I don't know if it's too soft or too stiff. I can't tell, because either it could be bottoming out or it could just be too stiff. And, learning what the components are actually doing is going to be very beneficial to me for sure with my career path at this point. So I'm excited that you guys have invited me, and that it looks like it's going to happen. And yeah, hopefully I'll be like the next Gilly or something.
For sure. Well, I don't know if we're going to take it that far, but I mean, maybe you'll fall in love with it and go that direction. I mean, I thought that Michael Lindsay was going to go that route at one point in his life. He's spent some time at Enzo doing suspension, and he's still absolutely he really loves suspension a lot, and has a soft spot for it. So I don't know if you're going to get to that level, but if you understand that, and then, talking to riders and stuff, when they're talking about how their bikes work and whatnot on the pro side too, I think there's a lot of value, because then you can translate that back to us normal fans and that side of things a little bit more. More educated along those lines too. So it should be good. And if anyone does want to sign up, like I said, there are seats left for that. If you go to the resources tab on racetech.com, you can get more information on the seminars, or you can just shoot an email to sales@racetech.com. And they'll give you all the information that you need and get you signed up. And
also don't forget to go to racetech.com and find your local service center. And those guys are guys that normally at your local tracks, you probably see them out there riding, and they can help you service and update, do any kind of modifications you want to your suspension and the engine. So yeah, hit those guys up, find your local service center, get to know your local tech, and have them help you out, man. Everybody needs a little suspension help, I think, because at least guys like myself, we certainly need to have somebody that knows what they're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've had the guy on the Yamaha come over this weekend that was talking to you, right? And you introduced me, and he happened to have Race Tech stuff from a dealer, I believe, over in Illinois that had installed his bike, and he hadn't been to Millville before and was wondering about tuning his bike in. And conveniently enough, I had a Race Tech dealer there that he was able to talk to and help him get his bike dialed in and better for the track on that weekend. And that's the joys of the Race Tech program, of having guys all across the country. It's a big network of support, and you're never really too far from having somebody that can help you out.
Absolutely. Well, Checkerz, man, I appreciate you jumping on here again. Thank you for all your hospitality, you and Jenny's family. We got to meet your buddy Al, and Bryce came out, and that was just, I feel like we're all part of that same family. It was really nice being there with you guys.
Absolutely. Well, your Minnesota family keeps expanding, so that means you need to keep coming up here more. And your buddy Michael also is welcome anytime. Thanks for coming up, and it was a good time. Yeah,
I was a little disappointed. Cody Clementson came out. His wife, Jilly, is the one that cut my hair back in the day. Jilly didn't make it. I was a little bummed that she didn't come out with the new baby, but we did get to hang out with Cody. He brought me some jerky, some beef jerky. That was amazing. So thanks to Cody Clemenson for that. Yeah, my Minnesota family is pretty great for sure.
Celebrity, man.
No, it's family, man. It has nothing to do with that. They're just good people up there.
Roommates.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So anyway, thanks, Checkerz. Really means a lot, man. Everything you do for us. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thanks, Jamie. Have a good night.
You too. See you, Checkerz. Again, Checkerz brought to you by Guts Racing and, of course, Race Tech. Appreciate him jumping on here. Just one of our best sponsors out there. You get, whenever you get your bike together, maybe you'll hit up Race Tech, huh?
Yep.
Yeah. Any questions based off that?
Nope.
No questions. Okay. Well, we're going to work on getting Ryan on. What were we touching on before? Oh, the 250, 350 thing, right? That's what we were talking about. Yeah, I obviously don't think that we'll ever go to a full 2-stroke class. I don't think that'll happen at the pro level.
I don't think you can race them in Cali anyways, can you?
In Cali?
That used to be a rule or something. I don't know.
I think the guys still race them locally. I just don't think as a series that they would bring that in.
I thought it was like in this, like if in like a supercross, like you couldn't have. I don't know. Maybe because Stank Dog did it. Maybe
that was really stupid on both of our parts
because I think at one point it was, but maybe they got rid of it. It was back when they were first they had all those EPA like special exhaust and all that stuff, and I don't know. It might have just been some random thing I saw
certainly
years
strict
ago.
on some of that, but we got our next guest of the night on the line, so let's do the WUSA read. W is your source for all things wheels. If you're looking for a complete set of wheels for your bike, we have something for every budget. If you want to use the same wheels used by Eli Tomac, Cooper Webb, Malcolm Stewart, Christian Craig, Chad Reed, and Jeremy McGrath, just to name a few, we have what you need. Visit WUSA.com or follow us on Instagram and use promo code MotoXpod to save. Tonight, WUSA brings us Blue Crew brand ambassador, Ryan freaking Villopoto. What's up, RV?
What's going on, Dark Side?
Dude, I'm so stoked because I just felt like I was never going to get you on the show, and then somehow it just worked out. And I just didn't think it was ever going to happen, man, after you blew me off in 18 at Redbud.
No, it's good, man. Look, we had a great time this last weekend, right? I got to kind of know you, got to hear some of your shit, So, no, that was good, So
yeah, dude. Like one of my highlights was definitely the steak.
Okay, yeah. They were pretty good.
I'm a big steak guy, so when I sat down, and you're like, "Hey, do you want a steak?" I was like, duh."
Okay, yeah. It was a little challenging with that little grill, in the dark, but no, fuck, we make it happen,
Yeah. Well, this Blue Crew brand ambassador thing that you've got going on, you and Damon Bradshaw, this just seems to fit your personality so well. And I don't know that I would have believed this would ever be a thing when you were racing professionally, but like it seems like you're just as happy as can be right now.
Yeah, no, honestly, our group there at Yamaha, like myself, Damon, Michael, Rich, and the whole crew, even the guys above Mike and all that are there at these events, like, dude, we have a good time doing it. Like, other than, getting there, the travel part kind of sucks, right? Like always, like, at least for me, like that's the only thing I dread about going somewhere is this travel these days, But once I get there, dude, we have such a good time. From the riding part, from the barbecue part, they just know how to like really relax, when they're off the clock. So, which is really cool. We get to really get good conversation, really get to know each other, So yeah, it's a blast.
Yeah, and here in a minute, I really want to focus on the Pulp Mix Ride Day and a few other things. But with as competitive as you were at the highest level possible in your career, and now you do a lot of this stuff mostly all for fun, do you find a way to still fulfill that need for competition, or do you even have that anymore?
Honestly, I always joke with Bradshaw because, like, I always tell Damon, I was like, you have an ego, that's your problem, like somebody gets in front of you, you're like, this guy can't beat me, and I'm like, I'm complete opposite of that. Like, I feel like I don't have an ego, especially with the motorcycle at all, maybe. Like, I feel like I've done and did a lot of stuff and more that I could have probably ever dreamt of doing, right? So, yeah, I just enjoy the days now where I can just go out and ride 3 laps, or I can go out and ride, more. Like this last weekend, it was Millville. I haven't been back there since 13. So 13 or 14, but I believe it was 13. So it's been a long time, Always, was always a really good, pretty good race for me. But the scenery, right, the creek right there, I'm like, dude, I've never been able to fish that creek, So like now I show up, and ride a little bit on Saturday and mix a cocktail and go down and catch some fish, So like it's a total different experience of now coming and being able to go back to some of these places, while being retired and in a complete different, position. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's great to see, and I know the fans just loved having a whole weekend of being able to visit with you. So it was really special for a lot of people. Yeah,
dude. I mean, like, the Martins, they put on a great deal. They, I mean, it rained a fair amount on Friday. But right before I got there, so it was wet, man. So they had to spruce the track up, get that thing all going, and now with we've been talking about doing it for the last couple of years, but we got it in play this year where we're staying in campers now at like Loretta's and this, this Millville event, the Pulp MX event. So, that totally changes the vibe of it too. You're not just going from the track to the hotel and back to the track. Like you're able to really kind of experience it,
Absolutely.
So, it's just a way different vibe now, and this one was a pretty mellow event. It wasn't a ton of people, but it was a good turnout for year one of it. So it was just cool. It was just a super mellow event.
Absolutely.
Yeah, RV, I wasn't cool enough to make the list on this one. I'm just not on quite that level yet.
This is my co-host Scotty, by the way.
Yeah, nice to meet you, man.
What's up, Scotty? Yeah, we heard the list. We heard some sob stories and some stories that were just like, hey man, let me into the show. And Steve's like, yeah, fuck off, come on, man, let's hear your sob story.
No, see, I didn't even try. I didn't even I knew better, but I was hoping that I'd be cool enough to tag along with Darkside, but I guess I'm. Even though I'm his co-host over here, I'm not there yet.
No, you're not there yet.
You gotta climb the ranks a little bit more there.
Yeah, but what you guys mentioned was kind of cool, and what I've heard from listening to a little bit of Steve's review and what Darkside and I have talked about, it seemed like a lot of people were kind of surprised at how nice Steve was able to be and how have a good time and talk to all these people. And Checkerz, who we just had, made a good point that it's like nobody was really working like they normally are at these kind of things. So it was a completely different vibe. And I think that from my perspective, it seems like it was a very rare thing, and it was something that really could only be, we've seen the Verb do the bro ride days.
Yeah.
Not even races, just the ride days. Yeah. So it's a very rare environment, and it sounds like it was good for Steve, and it was kind of good for the whole industry in that aspect for the vet guys to be able to have a time like this where it was more just focused on not being serious and just having a good time. So it was cool
exactly.
to see that.
No, that's exactly what it was. Like, I feel like, and it's probably that may be gone. Like year two, let's say, I think they had on Saturday there was only 100 and change that were able to come in, and then Sunday I want to say they went maybe into like the 230s or ish. So it was a pretty small event, so way more intimate. But that could grow as soon as that grows to 400 entries. And it very well will be, because there'll be some revenue behind it at that point, right? So totally makes sense. I would do the exact same thing, but then that's going to take it's going to be much more busy. Steve's going to be way more stressed and things like that. So it was a very, original time that you could really have there,
Yeah, I think he's already talking about next year, and you're right. It probably will grow, and it'd be hard to keep it as relaxed, but hopefully we can really work on that. Just like, it doesn't have to be over the top. Just keep it the same, and maybe he'll listen. I don't know. You never know with Steve. He's a little anal about stuff.
Exactly. Yeah. But I think it's good. It was a good time of year. I think they could move it back. Maybe, I know they were talking about maybe moving it, but it was nice that it was in the fifth, nights, maybe 45s, so it was cool. Campfire, really got to, hang out, but it also kind of kept it a little, I think, mellower too, just because it wasn't so warm and, people were in their rigs. I thought it was the perfect weather, other than during the day, it could have been 5 degrees warmer, so everybody could have took their coats off.
Yeah, I was good, man. I was in my riding gear. I didn't have a hoodie on or anything. I just went with it. But I like cold weather. So, how does this event rank with most? Like, you do a lot of event. I don't know how many a year you do for Blue Crew, but how did this event rank? What is your favorite thing to do as a brand ambassador?
A favorite thing to do, honestly, I don't know. nobody's ever told me this, but I feel like I kind of talk a lot when I get around people
Sure.
that, that we're kind of hanging out, a lot of times. So I enjoy, talking to people, because it's almost a different conversation a lot of times now, especially at events like this. So I don't know what's my favorite one. I think what's really changed the dynamic, like I mentioned, was trailers. Now we're really getting to experience a lot more in different sides of, say, Loretta Lynn's and, this event. And then this Dalton, Georgia, we have another Blue Crew event, not this weekend, but next weekend. So I'll be flying to Atlanta for that and then driving up to Dalton, Georgia. And we're going to trailer that too. So that's really kind of changed the dynamic a lot,
Yeah, for sure.
So they're all becoming a lot more fun, like, look, Loretta sucks. Everybody knows it's hot. It's, as soon as you walk out, you're sweats down your back. It's long, it's miserable, but it's also a lot of fun for about 2.5 days. And then you're like, get me the hell out of here.
Yeah. I've never been, RV, to
Oh, no, you have? Okay, you've never been. Yeah, that's how Loretta's is for me. Yeah. I'm like, okay, it's cool. It's not too far to get, right? Tennessee, it's not far for me that far, so I get there and you get to go back. I've been going back since I've raced, so I don't know. That's probably the longest place that I've gone back to every single year, or it is for sure. Well, I mean, it's got to be going on plus 20 years, I bet. I went there when I was maybe 10 for the first time.
Okay, yeah. Well, my goal is to be there at this next one. We're going to try to qualify. I don't think I'll make it, but we're going to give it a shot and at least go and hang out.
Okay. So. Yeah, I said this year, like I rode practice. I got to ride practice, and it was the roughest track I have probably ever rode, meaning bumps from exit of turn to entrance of turn, because there's all levels of riders, right? There's 50 PW50s all the way up to, vet guys in their 50s or whatever. Yeah, so there's all skill levels. Yeah. So it's just crazy, like it was so rough. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, it doesn't look fun. I almost hope I don't make it. I just want the attempt to make it is going to be the story. But one thing I want to point out that I thought was, I haven't talked about this yet, even on Steve and Kiefer and I did a podcast today, was there was a little kid, Scotty, he was I think he said he was 7 years old. And at the live show, he asked a question of the group, which turned out to be one of the best answers. And I'll get into that in a second. But the kid, he wanted an autograph. He was very, very shy. You could tell timid.
Yep.
And his mom was kind of standing next to me, and I said, does he want an autograph? Because they kind of hung out up there for a minute. And she goes, yeah, he would like one. But as soon as the live show was over, RV and Damon were gone. Like they were going to cook steaks, and it was been a long day. So I told the lady, come find me tomorrow, and we'll make that happen. And towards the end of the day, there they go. They come up, and this kid is getting an autograph and getting a picture with RV, but you can tell he's scared to death.
Yeah.
but RV was like, hey man, I have 2 boys your age. And it was really sweet to see RV, the aggressive racer that we felt like hated the sport almost at the time. And, and just see this other side of him. And RV, that was like a moment that really stood out to me where I was like, wow, this is really, again, something special.
Well, I think obviously now being 35, having kids that are 7 years old, like I have a whole different perspective. I'm a dad, so it's got a whole different perspective on it. Like when I was, say, 23, 24, like in that mid range there, like I didn't know what what that would feel like, and now if I were to bring my kids up to somebody, I'd be like, and I would obviously, I know both sides of it though. I'd be like, yeah, he's busy, or I'd be able to read between the lines if the guy was being a real dick or not.
Sure.
I'm sure I was that guy a lot of times. So anybody listen, yeah, that was probably me at one time. Right. So, what I'm saying, but I just think it's interesting. I can now relate to the kid, and because I have a 7-year-old or 2 7-year-olds,
Yeah, so. It was great. I appreciated that. I know the kid and the mom certainly did. Scotty?
Yeah. Oh, well, first of all, are the boys, are we on the road to, turn my mic on. Yeah. Are we on the road to doing it again, or are we out?
Oh, more kids?
Well, no, I mean, taking the kids into the career.
Oh,
okay. So this winter, I actually told him, Gage he's been busting my balls about, because we're doing a pretty big house remodel. It's getting houses done, but the yard's not yet. So it's close. But I told him this winter, when this thing is done, we'll start riding every weekend if that's what you want to do. Because I've told him, I said, I hate to do this, but I'm like, if you want to play flag football and be good at football, like really starting to be good, or baseball or moto, we got to kind of start doing that. Like, pull them out half day of like on a slow day of school. We have a day that they get out at 2:00. So that day I would pull them out 30 minutes early, and then I could take them out somewhere to ride and then ride on the weekends. Because I told them, if we don't isolate on something here soon, you're going to be a jack of all trades, fucking good of none.
Yeah,
I wrote that country song.
Yeah, exactly. So it sucks at 7. Like I'm almost making them. And I said, look, you don't have to make a decision, but if you'd like to start right, if that's what you priorly, want really to do, I said, we got to start kind of doing that, because if they want to do that, then they got to realize that baseball's, we can't be on a travel team if we want to, you know what I'm saying? You can't do both. That's the problem. Yeah. So it's tough for a 7-year-old decision,
Yeah. And you have 2 of them, right? I mean, they're twins. Yeah.
Yeah. Twins. So, the one wants to ride, the one follows kind of that one in that regard a little bit. He does like to ride, but he might be, I don't know, water boy, goggle, helmet cleaner. I don't know. I
Right.
could see that,
He'll find a spot.
Exactly. Find a spot,
Well, Harvey, let's get into some listener questions. That was something I wanted to do tonight. Scotty, do we have any from the YouTube chat? First, we'll start with our guys.
I'll have to scroll through and make sure.
Okay.
I did have one that I
go
wanted
ahead.
to ask him.
Go ahead.
So when you're at an event like this, and like you've been doing a lot of these, and I just really wanted your opinion on this. When you see guys, maybe Dark Side's level, and I'm a vet.
Shredding. Absolutely shredding.
Okay. Just, vet intermediate guys that, they usually jump most of the jumps. They take solid lines. They're not obviously throwing a blistering pace. They're out there and they're solid. They carry momentum. You being at your level, and you're more relaxed now than you were 10 years ago. But when you are at these things and you see that type of rider, like what is your perspective and what is your opinion when you see that?
As like somebody trying to kind of make it, but that's struggling in that regard?
No, just somebody that's obviously not going to make it, but is like, they're still like not as slow on a dirt bike.
Like, do you think, why is this guy even bothering? Or you're like, oh, that's cool, he's still out here,
Yeah, exactly.
No, I look at that like, so I'll use kind of Kiefer, for example. Like, he rides a lot, and there's a part of me that's a little bit jealous because he's keeping up that skill that he had. Like, if I would have just, if I could say kept, but I didn't ride a dirt bike for 2 years after I did retire. So, and still I ride a little bit, but me and Mike Ulrich at Yamaha, we're trying to make a point of like going to ride one day a week, but not make it like a job, just to stay up on it, because, we both feel like shit when we go and ride, and you're like, mentally you still have this like, dude, I can do this, I can do that, but physically you cannot. And, so I think they keep up doing it, like I think somebody in that position, if they got their day job, and that's what they do, and they can go make some money at fair races and things at night, and that's, and on weekends, I think that's really cool. But understanding that, hey, I got a day job. Like, I'm not going to make it in this. If that's the question you were asking, or look at the answer.
Yeah. I was just like, would you look at a guy like us and be like, oh my God, that guy's complete dog water? Or is he just like, yeah, he's doing his thing.
Depends on if he's cross jumping people and almost crashing all the time. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of stipulations inside of that. Yeah. Like, so yeah. Or if blows past a 65 kid and you're like, dude, like that's unnecessary.
That's only kids I can pass, RV.
Hey, you get past by those.
So. Yeah, that's true. All right, I'll do a couple.
He was asking. I thought he was asking more like, intermediate pro-ish, guys that are just still on the track.
Just guys like ourselves that are out there having
Vet B and intermediate
weekend warriors. Yeah.
Well, I mean, look, I've seen Dark Side ride a little bit. Like, yeah, go out there, and as long as you understand that you're out there to ride and have fun. Like, if you're trying to like impress anybody, like,
he is
wrong idea.
You saw that backfire.
Now we're on the topic that you were going for. Sorry, I missed it. Went over my head. Yeah. Understand what you're supposed. Dude, there was a lot of motherfuckers that crashed. I heard that siren. Dark Side. They had those sirens on the track.
Dude, those were cool though.
They were cool. No, for practice days with not a lot of people. You know what I mean? Like, you could hear it. I don't know if we could hear it. At a national.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? But like what they had, what it was used for was, but dude, that sucker was going off all the time.
Yes, it was.
It was going off a lot.
It was.
And a lot of them were on like jumps too, like not, like good crashes. I mean, I think there was a couple people hauled off that day.
Yeah, the Catapult grabbed a couple people. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And that's where I was like, God, like, dude, if I pulled over, I pulled over. So I went out and I didn't, I rode the track just to like see it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And see what kind of condition it was in, because I didn't want to get muddy. So I rode out real slow, you know, kind of rode around and jumped a few little things, but I didn't hit one of the triples. So the catapult I didn't hit. I did not hit the finish line, and I didn't hit the triple in the back, you know, on Saturday where they cut it short. That was into that left-hander. I didn't hit that one. So I didn't hit any jumps on the track until I pulled Kiefer over. And I said, "Are you jumping all the jumps on the track?" And he said, "Yeah." And I said, "Okay, I'm following you off all of them, because I don't trust myself now, like, on how to judge something, you know, because we always used to hit it so fast at race speed and scrub. Now it's like you're riding something that's 68 horsepower, and it's like, dude, you know, like, I'm not used to that. You know, I don't ride enough. So I was like, but I can follow somebody. No, and then I can go out and rip. Got to follow somebody. And I was very similar in Supercross that same way, you know.
That's so interesting.
Back to knowing what you're good at, you know, or knowing like your limit, like even me, like I'll follow somebody because Kiefer rides all the time and he already jumped all those jumps before I did.
Yeah,
I try to do that.
That was interesting to learn that he said that to us this weekend, and we were all like, wow, yeah, that's pretty impressive. Okay, let's
because like if you case one little thing on that 450, right? Like it's a fast bike. Like, you know, these things are legit motorcycles. They handle really well. But if you come up short on a day like at Millville there, that was really sticky and whatever, it could throw you down on any motorcycle for that matter. So I just follow him.
Well, it worked out. You were definitely flying once you got going. Yeah. With Aiden trying to show everybody up, cutting the course.
Yeah.
Oh, did he do that?
I never got behind him. You know what? That's one thing I wish I would have got behind him there. I never got behind him because I got behind him at Paris at the Yamaha 250F launch.
Yeah.
Oh,
but he can ride out here really good. I would like to ride him behind him there.
Well, he took off when all you star riders were out there on the big names. He jumped out there and he took off before everybody else, Scotty.
Yeah.
And he had a little bit of a gap, and then they came around the second lap and he had a huge gap. And I told Chris, I said, he had to have cut out the collarbone. He didn't go up the hill. And Chris was like, no, he wouldn't do that. And the gap just kept getting bigger. And when he came in, I said, Aiden, were you cutting out the collarbone? He's like, hell yeah, every lap. he didn't want to get caught by Phil because Phil had told him he was going to saw the front wheel off.
Oh, yeah.
But,
that's funny.
That's funny.
Let's we don't have you too much longer, so let's get to a few of these.
No, you're good. I think we got some more time. You know, I'll let you know when I got to go.
Okay, yeah, you're right.
What more questions you got?
All right, so let's go with this is from the Vital MX forum. MX guy says, will we see you in the TV broadcast booth at all in 24? Do you know?
I actually read that yesterday on Vital or something.
Yeah.
I did get the call today, but we'll see.
Okay.
We'll see. It's a lot of work, you know, like it was a lot of fun. But yeah, it's a lot of work and time. So if the boys want to go and try to start riding, right, that's my dilemma, you know?
True. Sure.
And it's obviously not about the money. I don't, you know, like, so, it's trying to, you know, keep myself relevant. Also, I do like to go to, you know, I like going to the track and being able to do that. Now, I don't even get to go to the pits anymore when I do that, you know, so it's a lot of work, you know? So, but we'll see. I got to make that decision here really shortly. I'd like to, but my kids come first. So
of course.
We'll see.
All right, there you go, MX guy. Next one, Bobby Barracuda. Ask him about the time he got beat by a girl at Airway Heights MX Park. I believe her name was Cherie Howell. Should make for a good laugh. Do you remember that?
I believe that was when I qualified, maybe with a broken collarbone, but yeah, she beat me. She was a good rider. If not, maybe I don't know. She fucking waxed my ass. I don't know. Maybe she did straight up. I don't know. A long time ago, but yes, I know the name, so that probably happened. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Scotty, did you find one on the?
Yeah. Well, the one I saw was that they wanted to know if he was going to the booth.
Okay.
Again.
All right. Well, that's cool. We got a couple more here we can get to. Let's see here. Ask him to rank his 4 Supercross titles in terms of one, his level of performance and your joy.
I don't know. I mean, level performance, I think I had to give as much as I could give all 4 of them. So, I think they all got harder. I think the first one was the easiest, just, you know, because it had never been done. And then at that point you're at the top of the mountain and then everybody's trying to knock you off. Right. So each one got harder in that respect of like the mental side of it, to keep it going, to keep living inside of that, pressure cooker.
Sure. Yeah. Keep that level up.
Yeah, so I don't know. I'd say the first one was the easiest, probably the funnest. I guess, because like I said, I got it got hard mentally, towards the end, trying to keep going for, 4 years in a row.
Yeah, in your era, that's not something we talked about as much. Guys like Adam Cianciarulo and those guys have talked about this, just the mental challenges of being an elite athlete and the pressures, and it really wasn't talked about in your day.
No, it wasn't. And I think, and I will say that I think it's a completely different level to live inside of, guys like myself and Dunge and, MC, the guys that really had to do it year after year after year after year.
Mm-hmm.
James, like, two in a row, like really try to, live inside that. Chad, all those top guys, all the guys that we used to race, and that, I think that's what, even Eli, keeping going what he's had going. I think he's kind of the last of the youngest of the, I would just kind of scoop him in with that group. But everybody after that, I don't want to say it's hit and miss, but they're not, the pressure of racing is very, very high, obviously, but to show up every weekend knowing you have to win, because I don't think we've seen race like runs, like, other than Coop once or twice, maybe scoop Coop in there, one of those years, but it's hard to live in that week in, week out for 17 weeks straight.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you're right.
These guys don't do that now. I think these guys now, it's way more inconsistent for whatever reason. I can't tell you why, but it is more inconsistent.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, it's more.
I mean, other than Jet, obviously we're speaking Jet with 22-0 and all that, right? So but yeah.
Yeah, I hadn't done that in Supercross yet,
right.
though. Yeah.
No, not Supercross, and he also hasn't done a 450 season with Supercross and motocross, right?
Exactly.
So
yeah.
I'm not saying it's going to be any different, because it may shock me if it wasn't. I think he's probably going to do that.
Oh, okay.
Not straight, but I think
Sure.
he's going to be in there for the title fight and it more than likely may end up with him.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we got a couple of fun ones from the chat. The first one was how many beers were on the count this weekend at the ride day?
How many beers on the count? It was pretty mellow. I think we did probably, I don't know, 6 or 8 a night.
Yeah, it's about
got a nice barbecue and
yeah,
I was the cook. Like I feel like I'm an asset now to Yamaha, not only a figure or a what do you call it, an ambassador. I'm also the cook. So
what a transition, right?
Yeah.
yeah. So if they get rid of me on the athlete side, then they get rid of their cook too. So they got to think about that one hard.
Right.
And then the other one was who has higher ceilings, you or Steve? I guess because your new house.
Sure. I know I'm Steve for sure. I don't know if anybody has higher ceilings than Steve.
Yeah. I got one more here from the forum from Matt Davison. Said, I'd like to see him answer, if he could go back and start his pro motocross, supercross career again, would he change anything? I've heard him reference that maybe changing teams would have lengthened his career a little, but anything else?
Yeah, I think changing teams would have lengthened my career potentially. Yeah. New challenge, new faces. Also, I would have been a little bit older as I, would have changed teams, 23, 24, 25, somewhere in that range. So I think that would have changed, but I think there's things I would definitely change. But like anybody would say, yeah, I would change a lot if I could go back.
Sure.
But it would have changed, obviously if you change that, it's probably going to change the trajectory too. So of where I ended up. So
Butterfly effect. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if I really look, I don't look any deeper than that. That's my answer.
Okay.
I don't think about it. You know what I mean? Like, cause you'd be like, fuck, I should have changed this. I should have done that different. It's like, fuck, I think we're all just learning, you got to learn from it, and yeah, you could have done it different,
Got it.
Yeah, I was just going to kind of add on that. It was kind of when Tomac left and then did that, it was like, I was wondering if you kind of had like, oh, I could have done that. I never really thought, because you were so loyal to Cowie for so long. It was just like, it's like, yeah, it was hard to make that decision, but it's like, now that you're an ambassador for Yamaha anyways, it's kind of, it is like, oh, well, what could have been, but
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't, that's what I think for sure, but I also don't put any more, because it could have changed how, I said the outcome potentially too.
Sure. Well, we've got a lot more questions for you, but we're not going to keep you on too much longer. I have 2 more things I want to touch on with Motocross of Nations ending recently. Just your thoughts on how, with how the weekend went, what you thought of that event over in Ernay, and then I mean, honestly, I want to congratulate you because I've never really had a chance to talk to you about one of probably the most impressive Motocross Nation rides of all time in 07. That was just, Scotty, if you remember, he went 1-1.
I think about it.
On a 250,
pretty
beating
often.
everybody on 450s, just dominated. You actually told me at Los Angeles that was probably your favorite ride of all time. But yeah, just what did you think of Motocross Nations this year?
I would say that was probably my favorite. Yeah. So look, we didn't have the best team, and we all know that. Christian coming in with an arm injury, just I think the first race back. So that's super tough for him just in general. So if you want to just go off results, I figured we would end up anywhere from 6th through 8th. So it was a little bit, farther back than that, a little bit. What did we get? What did we get? 8th overall?
Yeah. Eighth.
Okay. So 6th or 8th. So yeah, so I, my worst side, right? So 8th, that's what I kind of figured. I did not think we'd be any sniff the podium, to be honest. But they gave it hell. I mean, it's a hell of a race. Sending your best team, it's a hard race.
Of course. Yeah.
And I think the Europeans have gotten really, really good. They sprint like us now, but they also have their own style, because they don't have Supercross,
they've changed the game a little bit.
I totally believe that. And I think that they're technically better than we are because we ride a lot of the same soil, and they constantly ride one style of riding. It's outdoors. So I think they're technically better than we are on different conditions, so it was a tough race. Look, I don't think I think some, I think, who was we had AP and then we had Hampshire. Yeah. I think Hampshire could have rode better. AP certainly could have rode better. But like I said, there's a lot of pressure on that race too.
It is. Yeah, there is. And those guys had a decent moto and then kind of a bad moto in the end. But I agree with you 100%. I got one more. I just got a text from one of my buddies. He wants me to ask you, this will be the last thing. We'll let you go. What is your favorite Mitch Bone story, either separate or them together?
So I only hear bits and pieces, and obviously the story's been told like hundreds of times, right? So who knows how far it's has been stretched or changed, but they had, for me personally, I from stories that I have personally that's happened with me, it's just, we just have always had a good time. I can't really pull out one that was specifically, super funny, but I've heard of him sticking, or Troy Leaf sticking Mitch in the overhead bin, everybody's heard that story out there. That, that's like a famous one, so pretty funny stuff,
Yeah. To be a fly on the wall with those guys over those years would just, the fact that they're not in jail, they probably did go to jail, but to be in jail for a long time, they got away with a lot.
Exactly. Yeah. So, but no, it's they were a great group. Like Mitch still today, I actually I'm going to go down and see him probably tomorrow. I go down to the shop and stuff, still recently, or, all the time. So we have a good relationship.
That's great. Well, RV, man, thank you so much for coming on the show this week. And it was great hanging out with you, and look forward to, maybe having you on another time down the road.
All right, Dark Side. Well, yeah, thanks for having me on, buddy.
You got it, RV. Have a good night. Spend some time with your family. See ya.
All right, later.
Ryan Villopoto tonight, brought to you by WUSA. Dude, finally we did it. RV.
Poto, man.
Ryan freaking Villopoto. I had so many more questions from our forum members. I apologize. Originally, he's like, I could do 20 minutes or so, and we went 30, and we just didn't get to them all, but thank you.
Yeah, that was kind of a niche kind of a topic, it wasn't just a normal, it wasn't like how we would normally do like McGrath or somebody like that. So, but it was cool. It was cool to get to talk to him. I mean, obviously, when one thing I love about our sport is most of the time, not all the time, but the majority of the time, the guys that experienced a lot of success, the sport kind of made them just a cool person, and they're just real down to earth, and it's just
comes down to it. All started just what we do. We like to go ride dirt bikes and just have fun with our buddies and our dads when we were younger. Mm-hmm. That's where it all started from. So yes, some of these guys make a lot of money. They become relatively famous for the size of our sport. Mm-hmm. Maybe they could get a little bit of an ego, but when it all comes down to it, they're dirt bike riders that love riding dirt bikes. So, most of them are pretty damn cool.
Yeah.
I want to also mention FXR brought you the forum listener questions tonight. FXR is designed by racers for racers with industry-leading fit, finish, and performance. I messed it up. I almost got it.
You got one earlier.
Yeah, I did. Progression is the name of the game with every new piece created at FX.
In his head.
Oh, we're right
You
back
want
to
me
it.
to finish it?
We're right. I want to start it over almost. At FXR, we push our brand to the next level to provide you with the best product possible. Visit fxrracing.com to see the numerous gear lines and colorways, as well as the new 2024 line. Go to your local dealership and ask for FXR Racing. All right, we're going to get into the wrapping up of this show. We got a few more things here that we're going to touch on very briefly. Let's see here. X-Brand. Where's my X-Brand read? Did you take it? Yep. Okay, cool. X-Brand has quietly grown into one of the premier goggle choices available, using some of the most grueling conditions by GNCC champion Lyndon Snodgrass, pro champion Bryson, ATV pro champion Bryson Neal, Craig DeLong, Josh Strang. And it looks like Craig DeLong is going to win that GNCC championship this year. I think it's pretty much locked down. He'll finish that out at Ironman, where I'll be at, also wearing X-Brand. Visit your local dealership and ask for X-Brand goggles distributed through WPS, or go to xbrand.com. The X-Brand forum check-in this week. Did you see this on Instagram that Chad Reed jumped on Tate's?
Yeah, I actually saw that earlier.
Rips and whoops.
He was like, that mic was loaded, bro.
Yeah.
But it was still it still pulled him. It was kind of funny.
On our forum, Blockhead17 put up, I love these vlogs from the Reeds. Pretty impressive to see Chad commit on an 85. Tate is improving a ton. So what I liked about it, I saw also on Ellie's Instagram, she put a little video of her. Tate was obviously kind of frustrated.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, look, this is your first day. I know you expect perfection. He seems to be the very wired like Chad.
Yeah.
She's like, you're learning. You're going to get better. And like just watching the video, watching Chad show him, hey, it can be done. I don't think he was being like, a
little bit of both, maybe.
Dick to his kid, but he was like, hey, look, it can be done. I'm showing you. You can do it.
that thing. Yeah.
So I thought that was really cool. And it was a cool video. It was cool little insight. The Reed's vlogs are interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Just wanted to get your thoughts on it, see what you thought.
Well, it's kind of, I was going to bring this up earlier because Poto kind of mentioned it as well, where his kids are getting to that 6-7-year-old age where it's kind of, you have to choose one. And I always thought it was interesting that that Tate and them started kind of this late.
Yes,
a
little bit.
It's crazy now. Then this day and age, you have to be specialized in what you do. I always did. We did moto, but then I also kind of did summer track, and then I played basketball, and I did baseball, and we did soccer, and I got decent at some of them. But now, jack of all trades, master of none, and that's cool. When you're in your 30s, you can go do a pickup game of basketball, or you can do that, and you can have like a little bit of fun doing different things. But if you're going to be great at something, you're right. And
kind of have to go all in.
You have to go all in at 5, 6, 7 years old. It's nuts that they have to do that. But I think that I think it's smart that he's using his experience and his clout of somewhat to bring light to him watching Tate grow up, and kind of following a page of what the Deegans have done. And I think it's cool, and I think that it'll help Tate gain fans as he's coming along. If he has a little bit of what his dad had, and he probably figure it out. It does seem like he's progressed a lot.
Quick. Yeah,
so
he's progressing pretty quick.
It'd be interesting. I think they're doing it the right way, and it was cool to see Reed ripping 85 through whoops. That was cool.
That was cool. Motul email. Founded in 1853, Motul is a 170-year-old company that is present in over 160 countries globally, offering exclusive technologies and their patented ester core technology for your machine. Give your ride at Shineback. The Motul E10 Shine and Go Spray is our go-to detailer for all of our bikes. Motul E10 Shine and Go Spray cleans and restores plastic to like-new condition while leaving a protective film that repels dirt and grime. It smells like citrus, which is almost as cool as your garage smelling like race gas. You can find this and the entire Motul Powersports product lineup at shopmotul.com. Enter code VITAL20 to receive 20% off your order of $50 or more. Or you can go to your local dealership and ask for Motul products. I've got one email to touch on tonight.
Oh, my God. You made it through.
Yeah, it wasn't bad, was it?
Yeah, it was a good one.
Jason Henniger said, and this was actually from last week, and we didn't get to it. He said, first of all, nice shirt for starters. That was when I was wearing my 49er shirt. So thank you. They did lose this weekend to the Browns, so not so great. But you know what? We're not going to have a perfect season, but we'll be fine.
Did you really think that y'all were going to have a perfect season?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm not a Cowboys fan.
I never thought that we'd have a perfect season.
But most Cowboy fans are like, before the season even starts, we're going to the Super Bowl. Yeah,
No.
I'll wait till midway before I really start making thoughts.
Yeah.
Anyway, Jason says, if you can, I'd like you to go back, you guys, to talk about on the career numbers thing and your feelings on certain numbers being retired. I've seen so many comments about how number 4 should be retired, and I think it's silly. For the record, Chase looks absolutely great on the KTM. I think it's cool seeing single digits. Wish someone would take 8. Have a good show. Yeah, I'm not into, we don't retire any numbers in this kind of sport. A team sport where every team has all these numbers. If you want to retire the number 80 because Jerry Rice is the greatest of all time, I'm fine with that. If you want to, the Cowboys want to retire 22 because Emmett was one of the greatest of all times, I'm fine with that. But you don't retire 22 for the entire league.
Right.
You can't, and there's not enough numbers. Well, I guess there is, but I don't think you can retire any, especially single digit numbers, probably any numbers whatsoever in this sport. I just don't. If there was going to be one, it would probably be 4.
I don't. Who cares?
Yeah, I don't. I'm just saying, if you were going to be one, it'd be 4.
It's so funny at this day and age of the social media and all this stuff that it's like, especially when there's not much going on, these little hot button topics.
Yeah,
that
something to talk about.
Oh my God, who cares? Like, it does not matter. Like, the only thing that I thought was interesting with Chase is that I thought that the 23, the way he had branded it with the Alpine Stars gear and the Bull jerseys,
and it looked like Jordan.
And being on, maybe it's because he's not being on red. He's changing that. That makes sense. That was kind of because of that. It's kind of was an interesting move for me. But the fact that he's going to 4, like to me, it looks more like he's like Baggett than he does. I don't ever even thought of the Carmichael thing. Like, why then we should, Cooper Webb should never have been 2. Tomac should never have been 3 because Emig was 3. I mean, like that. Like,
yeah,
I
agree.
I don't get that.
I think most people agree. Most. I don't know.
I think it would.
I think it's a very minority.
And you always hear from the extremists, right?
Sure.
Because that's the only ones that care. Yeah.
So no retired numbers. They're all available.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
I think I kind of would like to see it go back to how it used to be, where 1 year it kind of just real dependent on how you finished.
Oh yeah, you got to finish second points, ran the number 2. I don't like that. I like career numbers.
Yeah, that's fair.
I already have a hard enough time trying to remember who's who when the numbers change.
It is interesting to try to keep up with, especially when you go back and watch the old ones.
When there's 27 Star Yamahas and 15 Pro Circuit Kawasaki's, it gets confusing. 6D, since its inception almost 12 years ago, 6D Helmets has been dedicated to the relentless pursuit of brain protection. From the original ATR-1 to its successor, the ATR-2, the goal was to develop a revolutionary design concept utilizing creative and forward-thinking technology that would change the market and improve the safety capabilities of the sports helmets. The helmet is the most important piece of protective equipment you will purchase, so visit 6D Helmets or go to your local dealership and ask for 6D. I did have my 6D on this weekend when I did have my little crash. I did hit my head pretty hard. 6D did its job.
Did you change helmets after that?
No, it was fine. It wasn't that hard of a crash.
Okay.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't where I was concerned. But usually we do the 6D picks of the week. We have no race coming up. So what I'm going to ask you is, do you think I finished the Ironman GNCC this weekend?
If the conditions are normal conditions,
What's
yes.
normal conditions?
Like if it doesn't get too wet,
yeah,
or too gnarly,
okay,
or you don't ride.
There's a lot of oars, or
depends on if you ride over your head or not. If you you go out there, see, this is where I think that is the question.
Okay,
because what's going to happen is you're probably in the best shape that you've been in doing one of these. I don't know. Were you in this good a shape when you did the last one?
I was probably pretty close. I was a few months back at Daytona.
You gained some confidence this weekend. You're going to be on a factory bike.
I've also been learning some lessons with the injuries I've incurred over the last 2.5 months.
I'm afraid that you're going to get into this class. You're going to rip a whole shot or second. You're going to be
definitely won't rip a whole shot because that freaking dead engine start kicks my butt. Even
it doesn't have a push button?
Yeah, but everybody's better at it. They do it all the time.
You push the button.
Bro, I'm just telling you that.
Push the button, dump the clutch.
Okay, all right.
Okay. Anyway, so if you get a good start and you're with those guys, you're gonna feel like you're gonna feel expectations that you're gonna have to win, because we would in that situation.
I definitely don't feel I have to win.
I feel like if you're in your age group, you're gonna feel like that.
No, I don't think so, because I expect that most of those guys do this all the time and they're used to that kind of riding. So I would like a top 5. But I feel I'm going in with zero expectations other than to do what it takes to finish.
Yeah. I think if you keep it that way of just like, I'm just going to finish, I'm just going to finish. Yeah, I think
like if it's a
you seem to be pretty determined
and flooded, when I get close to the end of the first lap, I might just pull over and sit in the woods for an hour and a half.
Does it work like that?
Well, it's 2 hours. You just have to finish. It might be one lap that took me 2 hours, but if I finish, I finish.
Yeah, that's fair.
I'm joking to a degree, but I don't. Those hills do scare me a little bit. They're gnarly. There's some.
Have you done it? You've done it before, right?
Yeah, and I was scared the whole time.
Yeah. Like stuff we
but
did at that hard enduro.
But it was not wet the last time I did Ironman. It was dry. So if it gets muddy, and then I also have to climb those hills that feel like they're at a 45-degree angle, and they're 150 feet long, full of ruts, I'm gonna struggle. What are you laughing at? What do we got?
So wasn't that hard of a crash, but still can't read the sponsor reads.
Yeah. All right. Block that guy.
Nope. That's my dude. That's my guy.
Yeah, they suck. Our listeners are buttholes.
Are awesome.
Yeah, they're cool. They're great.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna wrap this up with the Prox highs and lows. Prox is rooted in racing from motocross to off-road, supporting teams like Pro Circuit Kawasaki and Pro Yamaha, who I will be riding for this weekend with my guy Zach Osborne and SLR Honda. Prox has been dedicated to supplying quality components since 1975. From complex jobs like an engine rebuild to simple maintenance like filters, chains, and sprockets, Prox aims to bridge the gap between OE quality and affordability. Find Prox at your local dealer or online retailer. Visit prox-usa.com to search for parts for your bike and follow them on social media. Prox highs and lows. My highs is the event this weekend. My lows was the guy, well, actually, Pulp's buddy, Mathis's buddy that broke his back.
Mm-hmm.
And Brianna, she was a female that got a ticket or whatever in with her boyfriend, Chuck.
Mm-hmm.
She got landed on and had a concussion and was injured. And honestly, any of the other injuries that happened, I didn't get to talk to a lot of the others, but those were two people that I kind of saw and hung out with a little bit. So those injuries suck. I never want to see anybody get hurt. So that's my lows. What's your highs? What's your low?
My highs were that the 49ers and the Eagles lost and the Cowboys won. That was my high.
That's fair. That's fair.
And my low was that I didn't get to go to the Millville Ride Day. I would have loved that.
Sorry, man.
Yeah, I'll get there when it's time. I'll go to Millville when it's time.
You get there when it's time.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be a wrap on the show. I want to thank our presenting sponsors, Boyesen and Racetech, as well as Prox, X-Brand, Guts Racing, FXR, 6D, Motul, and W. Those guys being involved with the show means the world to us. Please go support those sponsors. Email us, motoxpodshow@gmail.com. We want to hear from you. We want you guys to get involved. I'm still always asking for more input. Bring it. Let us, even if it's criticisms, let us know. Thank you to Ryan Villopoto and Checkerz for coming on. That's it. We will do a show next week. It's probably going to be a GNCC heavy show. Have some of those guys, but we'll be back. We're out.